Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Orphanlast, aka Skylar Madison, and welcome to the What I Do for a Living series. Now, there's not very many videos like this in my channel. There's only 3 of them now, but they're kind of like a little highlight on my channel, kind of showing you guys what I do professionally, and it is a form of artwork. And now here inside of this clip, you see me working extra late because when we make a water slide, we need to make sure that the cement dries well enough, it kind of sets up, you know, and we can put, you know, an electrical blanket down on top of it as safely as humanly possible. So here on the screen, what you're looking at right now is the closest thing that we sometimes have to a floor plan. It's on a grid, and we have the grid numbered. We have reference lines that are in red kind of going across to each square on the grid represents 1 inch. And so this really helps us out immensely in trying to make something that's fairly complex. And here you can see the beginnings of the torso, and you can see my coworker just welding away. Now, I'm the guy holding the camera, so you're going to see a lot more of him inside of this video than you're going to be seeing of me. But, you know, that's fine. Now here, this is the bottom portion of the legs. Remember, he's in a yoga position, so, you know, his legs are rather wide in this specific case. And I'm basically just kind of spotting him, making sure that he doesn't set a fire or standing on things that would normally be moving around and making it impossible for him to weld. So that's basically what I'm doing at this point, trying to be productive while I pull out the camera. And so here he is just welding away, and I think that, yeah, okay, so here you see the beginnings of the torso with the beginnings of the legs. And then the next clip, you see us kind of welding them together, kind of, this is after probably about 3 or 4 minutes of us kind of arguing about measurements on our reference. And then I come to work the next day, and he was working at home, so he just decided, okay, I'm just gonna work on the arms in the middle of the night, and it worked out fine. And so I went ahead and basically sculpted out with rebar the head, and we put it back, put it right on there. And here we see him with mesh, and you know, this was for a stage prop. And it was a real rush order, and so since we were in such a rush, and it was something that we're not too familiar with, making stage props, it didn't come out the way that I wanted it to look like, but they were totally happy with it, which is great. You know, it's a stage prop, it doesn't need to look amazing, but even still, the goal is to put out the best amount of excellence as you possibly can. And so it never quite reached the standard that I wanted it to reach, but it was within reason, and I'm moderately satisfied. But, you know, since it's a stage prop, they kind of want specific things that are kind of make no sense, such as we want a durable material and we want it to be super light. Now, I understand why, when you're performing a play, why you would want those things, but it's very difficult to find a light material that's also very durable. And so we used a special mix of what we kind of deemed to be called industrial mache, so it's applied kind of like paper mache. Now, the white material, it was an experimental material, and it rained during the weekend, and that experimental white material never dried throughout the weekend, so we lost a day, and it was already a rush order, and so we had to put him under a tent and put a blower on him so that he would dry overnight, and that was pretty disappointing. And so here you see me kind of walking around the tent, and that's me. And for some reason, I thought you guys would have difficulty understanding what's going on, so I put the camera into the tent again right next to the blower so that he would dry. Now, the decorations on his clothing are actually accomplished with a caulking gun, And here you can see the beginnings of the hands and feet made out of expansion foam. And we later on put some of that industrial mache on there as well to strengthen it, because expansion foam's not very durable. And, you know, that was the last that I ever saw of the Buddha statue, after we put the industrial mache on the hands and feet. I was called off to work on other jobs, to carve, to do other things. And, you know, I'm fine with that. But from what I hear is the Buddha statue was painted a convincing gold, shiny and everything, and shipped off to the company that performs plays and such like that, the theatrical company. And they were happy with it, so I'm happy with it. All that good stuff. And here you're seeing me carve, and kind of the thought process and such. Now, it's really tempting for newbies to either just pretty much just scratch the surface and leave it at that, or to just dig as deep as you possibly can. But we have a procedure where we actually get as much of the final result into the cement as we possibly can, as early as possible. So that when we carve, you don't normally have to dig really deep, although you can. So some people may wonder, well, why then would you put so much cement on if you're not going to carve very deep? The answer to that question is so that it's durable, so that it can last longer than just 1 year. I mean, it needs to be able to survive for thousands of years, hopefully. I don't know if it necessarily does. I mean, we've gone to a number of jobs in the past to do a little bit of repair work, but by and large, our work stands the test of time, and it looks pretty good. Here you see me carving another area. Whenever we apply the cement to every step of a staircase or something like that, we're careful so that we apply the cement to every other or every third step, so that we're able to actually walk around the job while we're applying the cement. Cement, it's not just, you know, unpleasant to have on your feet and on your boots in general, but it can be pretty slippery. So here you see me going over basically the second pass of the steps. This little section that's wet, thus a darker color, is just a little patch job on the stairs, because that's just simply the step-by-step process that we do when working on the stairs. Now, here you can kind of see me carving. I use the brush to kind of get rid of some of the tearing texture that comes out when I carve, and I press in with my finger to get a little indent in there, and then kind of tweak it a little bit more with my dental pick, actually. And it's not like all of these little details are things that I just see in the rock and I just bring it out. It's not like that. It feels like doodling on with a pencil and paper and such. That's what it feels like. There are occasions when we go over to an area while we're spreading the cement on, and I look at it and I insist, this area totally looks like it needs this specific effect here. And there are occasions, but usually it's like a 4 to 5, 10 square foot area. Look at that. You can see the area that I just carved just there. And just kind of walking over the job site a little bit, just so that people can take a look at what we made. Now, pretty soon here I go ahead and step down and walk past the spillway. I show you the underside of the spillway because during the time that I was actually recording this, the spillway wasn't finished. But what's underneath the spillway looks pretty good. Now, right here underneath the jump rock, you can see some ghost holes that one of my coworkers went ahead and made. Kind of a simplistic form of ghost holes. I have seen ghost holes that look like that, but You know, very simplistic, very admirable. I don't know who carved this. It might have been the same coworker for all I know, but that looks excellent. But to the right of it, in fact, let me just wait just a second here. Right now, you're seeing everything that I carved. I didn't frame it. The coworker that you've been seeing throughout the video, who's been welding and such like that, he's the guy that framed the spillway. And it wound up being the best spillway that we ever did. Here, you see me point my finger right there, and you can see where the water starts, and it kind of billows down. And we have these things called weirs, where it's basically like a bowl that forces the water to build up in an area and spill over so that it spills equally over the spillway. Really quick here, just to interrupt myself, this is one of my favorite things that I carved on this job site. So the weir, it's pretty cool because, like, yeah, it allows the water to spill equally across the entire spillway. However, there is an issue of standing water. If you have water just sitting in a bowl, you have standing water, which attracts flies, gnats, and all sorts of disgusting creatures that spread diseases. Here's the other area that I carved, by the way, that you guys saw me carve, right there. Anyhow, so the way that we make sure that our weir doesn't wind up, you know, having standing water. This is the spillway. I carved everything here, and it is just so good. I'm so happy with how this turned out. But anyways, so the weir. The way that we prevent standing water is by actually going to a place that sells slushies. And they have these extra thick, extra big, extra strong straws that have a plastic wrapper around the straw. And although we do have, you know, rebar that goes across the weir and everything like that, it does have steel reinforcement, we're still able to stick a straw inside of the cement so that by the time that the cement dries and everything, or sets up, you're able to just kind of open up the wrapper and slip out the straw, and you know, the wrapper's easy to pull out, and if it's not, then, you know, we'll use a pressure sprayer to get it out. Now, you've been seeing me paint. This is like something like the third pass that we've done. We do sometimes, like, it can go up towards 15 different passes, but this job, it was about 4 passes. And each pass we usually have either 1 or 2 colors that we're applying at that time. And so I apply the paint, and I kind of smear it around with my finger and such. The day that we were painting, it was an atypical day. It was not normal for us because it had been raining all night. And we show up on the job, and the rock is extremely wet. Normally, once you apply the paint on there, you have to get it done. You got to address it as fast as you possibly can, because in the next 5 seconds, it will be dry. So this allowed us to be able to just take our time and just make it look really nice with you know, with your finger and such like that, and then pulling out a sponge and kind of dabbing parts, kind of taking off high points of the color, and you know, taking, just generally adding variation to what it is that we're doing. So everything that you see me doing inside of this clip, it's not the final result. My coworker is going to come over to what I'm working with a sponge, and he's going to make it look like a rock. But the little subtleties that I'm doing with my finger is pretty important, because it does add a little tweak here, a tweak there. That adds a little bit more realism to it. And yeah, the fact that it rained all night on the rock, I mean, it's fine, because water and cement, water makes cement cure harder, so we're always happy about that. But when we're trying to paint, if there's areas that just refuse to dry, then because it's overcast and possibly even a little chilly outside, well, you know, it can pose some problems, and it kind of did. And so we took a little bit of an extra long lunch and got back and applied the final coat of paint, which was black. And you guys are actually going to see us painting with the black paint pretty soon here. Now, it's not like we just buy a paint and just use it straight out of the container. We actually put a solution inside of the paint to thin it out, and also just so that it'll work with the cement a lot easier. You don't want to apply straight paint onto one of these things, because you know, you paint a house and eventually it winds up flaking off. That would look so terrible. And so the goal is that we paint it and then we don't come back to paint it again, is what the goal is. And yeah, I don't know. There are occasions where a customer says that the colors have faded, but what they typically tend to mean is on the spillway, you know, mineral deposits, white mineral deposits develop there, and it turns the spillway white. And you know, that's actually one of the things that we need to figure out how to prevent. But it's not. I mean, I don't know. You see mineral deposits occur on natural spillways occasionally here and there as well. And here you can see my coworker using the sponge, and you can actually see what it does and how it affects the contours of the paint to the contours of the rock, I guess. And when I say contours to the paint, you have to think the paint is hitting a bunch of bumps and such like that. So sometimes the goal is to take away just the high points. I don't know if I'm making sense or if you guys are able to understand what I'm saying. At work, everyone would understand what I mean by saying the high points. But, you know, the high points on the bumpy texture of the rock, that sort of thing. And here, this is actually a job that I did before everything that's been occurring inside of this video. I just didn't want this video to be too much like the other videos in this series. This is my favorite thing that I carved on this job, but here I do kind of a walkthrough of the job that we did prior to working on the Buddha statue. And it's like 90% done at this point. And this is actually the job that I was on when I would, you know, at the beginning of the video, it started with me in the dark with a blowtorch. This is that job. And the stuff to the right I carved here, and to the left it was one of my coworkers. And okay, the stuff to the left here, this specific coworker, he does some amazing ghost holes. Absolutely amazing. Dumbfoundedly amazed by his talent with this job. Just looks great. And there are a number of times where I spin around and it's easy to lose your equilibrium, but just try to bear with it because I am showing you different things here. And I really like how this area just looks like it's been eaten away, as if you got like something like a jawbreaker and wrapped chewing gum around it and stuck it in your mouth, and different parts of it deteriorated at different times. I really like how that looks. And then I do a Millennium Falcon maneuver with my camera. Oh, it didn't work. Anyways, and so I go ahead and step further into the cave, and the same coworker that I really complimented earlier, he did this stuff here that's on the screen. And then I move the camera to the right and show off the work that I did. I had another coworker working to the right of me, so it's the things that are on the screen right now. It's not all my work, but like a lot of it is. And so I'm just kind of spinning around. I don't know why I decided to go that direction, but yeah, I go ahead and jump onto the spillway. I carved the upper portion of this spillway, and the cement wasn't setting up properly, and although I'm happy with the end result, it doesn't look like what I wanted it to look like, which is really sad. You know, a lot of the time I love the winter, and yes, this is winter where I live. It doesn't snow here very often, and that's the reason why I live here. I hate the snow. But yeah, like, sometimes I love the winter because it takes forever for the cement to set up, which means that you have time to kind of play with the cement with your fingers. You have time to kind of line things out and then come back later with a brush and a little touch up here and there with a dental pick or with an extra thin tuck pointer that would be no good for stonemasonry, because it'd be some terrible off-brand with really thin metal. Yeah, it's weird because like garbage tools for other jobs are excellent for this job. And like I said inside of the previous what I do for a living video, I am a trained stonemason, so, you know, building stone walls and stuff is not foreign to me. And so, yeah, when I say that you get a tuck pointer that's no good for masonry, I really mean it. I carved this stuff to the left, and just to the, like, what's in the middle of this camera right now, that's the coworker that does exemplary ghost holes, okay? And just kind of panning around, just look at that. It just looks so amazing. The thing is I'm complimenting my own work. It looks freaking cool, and being there, it is an experience. It's exciting to be there, and it's exciting to come to work and be surrounded by something that's so cool. I framed up all this stuff at the jacuzzi, and it looks really nice. I didn't carve much of that in the jacuzzi, but I framed all of it at the jacuzzi. Now, it's really important that you don't get overly attached to your work. Now, when you're working on it, that's when you can be attached, because you're always striving to make a better, more realistic looking rock formation. And so that's when you can be attached, but oftentimes we never revisit a job that we finished because it's in the backyard of some rich guy's house or something like that. Yeah, so, you know, that's that, and I'm happy with it. Anyways, guys, that pretty much concludes it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And if you guys would like to see more notifications from me, feel free to click on the bell, or go ahead and follow me on Twitter. If you guys would like to see more of my content, feel free to click on anything appearing on the screen right now. Thank you very much for your time.